Tashdale to everyone, and welcome to the intermediate conversation course. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about the descriptive word. So very interesting. As usually, if you find or search for the term descriptive word or adjective, you'll come across this term that is Yanzi. So this is a term that is also in the Tibetan dictionary. So in the Tibetan dictionary, we see the word Gensi. So usually we use that particular term, which is Gensi. But I have used the term Keti, and this has some reasons. So there are some reasons for using this particular word. So the term Keti and Gensi have a little bit of contrast or a difference between each other. The Gensi is a term that directly translates to a word that is a word that is like an ornament, or a word that describes something. So it's a word that could be understood as something that describes something. So uh, so yes, so it's a word that was directly it is a word that is directly translated from the the same in it's translated from the Chinese word. Uh, so I so those who understand this here, I would like to have your perspective on this. It's a word, uh, it's a Chinese word that is Xing Rong Zi. So this is the word that has been translated in Tibetan, directly translated in Tibetan as the word Gensi. And uh, please provide your feedback later on if I'm getting this wrong. So Gensi typically talks about a word that is something that describes a word. It's a word that describes the word in a way like ge uh, normally subscribes to the physical appearance or the physical notion of things, more like explaining the physical aspect of things. So the Gensi is a word that describes a more concrete or physical aspect of things. So I think that that might be coming from this particular word from Chinese, and this is adapted in the Tibetan dictionary. It's Taisertik. Taisertik is the new volume of the Tibetan dictionary, uh, which was published. So in that particular dictionary, we have the word Gensi, and it is supposed to be a direct translation of the particular of this very word in Chinese. So so the word kizik uh is a word that has been popularized by the contemporary scholar Dongto Rinpoche. So Dongto Rinpoche has popularized, though he's a 21st century grammarian, historian, uh, and he passed away in 2015. So in many of his books on grammar or Tibetan language in general, he has used the word Ketsik instead of the word Gensik, where he has where it has been shown or it has been described that the word is capable to explain a broader understanding of the descriptive ability or the descriptive nature of this word. So normally in English, we have the adjective and we have the adverb. And we see that both of these words are capable of describing. The first one is capable of describing a particular characteristic of a noun, whereas the second one explains the mannerism of action. And according to the arguments, the word gensik is incapable of encompassing, incapable of including all of these understanding. And therefore, the word ketik, or in a more older term, we also use chutik. But chu here doesn't mean dharma. Chu here means it's the word for kechu, meaning characteristic. Chutik means characteristic word, a word that shows characteristic of something. It could be the physical or the other type of characteristic of a noun, or it could be a characteristic or the mannerism of an action. So Dongto Rinpoche strongly popularized the notion of the kitik rather than the gensik. And so we see that this has a sort of understanding of describing not only the noun and the characteristic of a noun, but also the mannerism of a verb or an action. And that is the very reason why, even though you may see the word gensik in probably most of the Tibetan dictionary, because it's a word that has been popularized by the Tibetan dictionary, the new volume of Tibetan dictionary. But the very understanding of the word has to provide a certain function that is capable of including the understanding of not only adjective but also adverb. So therefore, to broaden the understanding or broaden the definition of the word ketik has been both popularized and adapted. It has been both popularized and adopted by many scholars, many contemporary Tibetan scholars. So especially in the early 21st century. So therefore, I have also used the same word here, ketik. And the other thing, ketik or descriptive word, though it's not a part of the Tibetan grammar, we have two classical texts, the 30 and the gender science, in which definitely it is not a part of either. But it plays a significant role in the language itself. And so it is important to understand these words and to use these words in our day-to-day life. Because definitely, even if we are reporting an incident, or if we are narrating a story, we need to describe a particular thing. We need to describe the mannerism of how things unfold. So that is why the descriptive word is a very significant part of this particular, very significant part of language, though not discussed in the grammar, but still a very important part of the language. Okay, so before we go to the main topic, that is the descriptive word, let us begin with our formism. So this says, let me repeat. So this particular aphorism, what it says is that if one does not encounter boulders of hardship, then one will never reach the plains of happiness. Meaning that if one desires for a peaceful and a happy life, then one should first be met by different type of challenges, different type of hardship in life. And by overcoming this hardship, by overcoming these hardship or these situations, circumstances in life, and then equipping oneself with the ability to To overcome this, after overcoming this, then one is capable of providing oneself with a happy life. So if one does not encounter oh, very nice. So the analogy would be keju kimi. Yes, so therefore, thank you very much, Agitala. Yes, this is wonderful. So now we see that the Chinese word. So I'm very sorry if I'm even pronouncing it wrong, because here I have the transliteration in Tibetan, and it is Xingrongzi. So here, just like Agita had said, it should be understood as keju, meaning a term that shows that describes or that shows a characteristic of something. So the word that has been adopted was gensik, and so like I said, it does not include the entire understanding. So that is the reason why I have said that it was much better to use the word kitik. Or in some cases, you'll also hear the word chutik. Let me write here. If let me take the Tibetan. So you can also encounter this word, chutik. Yes. So chutik, ketik, and the other one was gensik. Lasoso. These are the words that one might also encounter. So therefore, if so this is the meaning of this proverb or aphorism. That is, if one doesn't encounter the boulders of hardship, then one will never reach the plains of happiness. Lasso. Now, with this, let us begin today's lesson on descriptive word. So, 继续 general introduction. 天气你明显了这句给气了可个。So, what is a descriptive word? Descriptive word should be understood as a word that describes a name. So here you see it's the capital N, which means that it refers to all terminologies in Tibetan. Definitely, it doesn't include the descriptive word, because a descriptive word will not describe a descriptive word. So any other, for example, we have the action word, chasi, and we have the naming word, mingci. So it's a word that describes both the naming word and the action word. So keti ni minshila delju. Delju means to provide explanation, to describe. The direct translation del means to explain. Je means stating the explanation. Or in another understanding, we can understand it as describing. So descriptive word keti should be understood as a word that describes a name. Minshila deju ki sila kogu. Kogu means should be understood. So we understand by the definition that it's a word that that describes either a naming word or a noun or an action word. Penna, 这是你没想不起的。这不的呢，开始上班，这是了这句前几月。Okay, let me read this again. Penna, 这是你没想不起的。这不的呢，开始上班，这是了这句前几月。For example, Tashi is a kind person. So Tashi ni mi sangpo re. Sangpo means kind. Mi is a person. It's a person. So Tashi ni mi sangpo shi re. And since we have shik, which is a word that tells us of a singular people, so it becomes person. So here it's translated as a. So Tashi is a kind person. Here the descriptive word kind describes Tashi, which in this case is a naming word. And so the kind is an adjective. So it's a descriptive word that is describing a naming word, that is tashi. So this is the function here. Laso kezi la yewa ni yue te mingi kezi tang chawe kezi jeso. Kezi la yewa ni yue te mingi kezi tang chawe kezi jeso. Okay, so there are two types of descriptive words. So there are two types of descriptive word. The first one is adjective. Mingi kezi, the descriptive word that is used with naming word. And chawe kezi, adverb, a descriptive word that is used with an action word. So instead of directly translating this, we have used the same in the English. So mingi kezi can be understood as adjective. So when you search for the word adjective in Tibetan, you'll come across the word gensik, which means a descriptive word that describes a name. A naming word. So that is gensik or adjective. So here we have understood it as mingi ketsik, a descriptive word that describes a name, or a descriptive word of name. And then we have the second one, which is chawe ketsik, which means descriptive verb or descriptive word of action words, which is adverb, which tells us about the mannerism of the action. Laso perna sakhang tir khala shimpo tuk dini ming khala la deju ki ketsi shimpo pechu chepare perna sakhang tir khala shimpo tuk dini ming khala la deju ki ketsi shimpo pechu chepare. Okay, so for example, food in this restaurant is delicious. This is a descriptive word, delicious, used to describe a naming word, food. So here we see that in this particular statement, we see that the word shimpo, which means delicious, is used in order to describe the naming word food or kala. So food in this restaurant is delicious is a which we have the naming word, which is food, and we have the descriptive word adjective here, which is mingi kitsik. Ming here should be understood as naming word. So naming word food. Now second example. Kasa zhe gi leka gyokpo chesong. Dini chawa leka la deju ki ketsi gyokpo pechu chepare. Kasa zhe gi leka gyokpo chesong. Dini chawa leka la deju ki ketsi gyokpo pechu chepare. Okay, yesterday, so for example, in this statement, yesterday Tashi did work quickly, or Tashi did the work quickly. This is a descriptive word, quickly, used to describe an action, work. So here we see that unlike the previous example in which the descriptive word was describing the naming word, here we have a descriptive word which is describing an action. And this descriptive word is quickly. So here quickly is an adverb, that is chawe kitsik. It is a descriptive word of action. It shows the mannerism of action, how Tashi did his work. So it tells us that yesterday Tashi did his work quickly. So the descriptive word is quickly, chawe kitsik is quickly, and chawa is work. So therefore, in any statement where you have mingi kitsik or adjective, the statement should have mingsi, name, and naming word, and mingi kesi, adjective. Whereas in any statement that has chawe kesi, adverb, it should have chawa, action, and chawe kesi, adverb. Lasso. So this is the general classification of descriptive word. So if we say, how many classification of descriptive word? We'll say two. What are these two? The first one is mingi kesi, adjective. The second one is chawe kesi, adverb. So we have adjective and we have adverb. And these are the two types of descriptive word. And in this class, we're going to discuss on the first one, which is mingi kesi, or adjective. Lasso, mingi kesi, adjective. Mingi kesi ni mingci shila deju ki ci la koge. Mingi kesi ni mingci shila deju ki ci la koge. Okay, so adjective should be understood as a descriptive word that describes a naming word. So we see ming in the word ming here is the short form of the it's the short form of the word mingcik. Mingcik kesi. But since you see that there is repetition of cik, so we just write mingi kesi. So mingi kesi is a type of descriptive. So these are type of descriptive words that functions to describe a naming word. So it is used particularly to describe a naming word. Penna, nge tropo supu ringbu yure. Dini, mingci supu la keci ringbu deju dilju. So this is dilju. Okay. Penna, nge tropo supu ringbu yure. Yure. So it's better if you are able to pronounce the ta, yu, re. Sometimes we tend to pronounce. Sometimes it's tend to be pronounced as yore, which is also very common in some of the regional dialects, yore, but it should be pronounced yure with the emphasis on ta. So, perna nge tropo supu ringbu yure. Dini kitsi ringbu deju cheki yue. Okay, let me repeat this again. Perna nge tropo supu ringbu yure. Dini mingci supu la kitsi ringbu deju cheki yue. For example, my friend has a tall body. So when we say my friend in a statement that is my friend has a tall body, this is a descriptive word, tall, describing a naming word, body. So here, the naming word body is being described by the descriptive word tall. And so it becomes mingci. It becomes mingi keci. Because it functions to describe a name, mingi keci. Lasso. So here we have 12. So I think there are 12 adjectives. Mingi keci adjective, some of which I can say that definitely many of you have already encountered and are already in your world of words. Some of them may be new, or maybe every one of these are something that some of you have already encountered and have in your vault of words. So the first one is ringpo. Ringpo means tall. Tung tung. And understand that all of these are just positive adjectives, meaning that these are not comparative, or these are neither comparative nor superlative form. These are simply the positives. So, ringpo, tall. Tung tung, short. Qianpo, big. Chung chung, small. Garpo, white. So karpo is actually a noun, a naming word, because it is the name of a color. But in some cases, it can be used as a defining characteristic of an object. For example, if we say "kangba karpoti," now we already have kangba, which is a naming word, and then we have a karpo, which is also a naming word. Then the problem is that two naming words has come consecutively. So therefore, in those cases, karpo can function as an adjective. Hareure, which means careless. Tangpo, first. So these are ordinal adjective, meaning showing the order of things, defining the characteristic as an order. So this is first, this is second, this is the last, this is the final. Tangpo, sangpo, which is kind. Ningjechin. So sometimes when a particular characteristic is being shown to be possessed by someone, this can also be used as adjective. So Ningjichen is merciful. And sometimes there are also names. For example, Semjin. Semjin means sentient or living or animals, which are naming words, and not adjective. But sometimes they are also adjective. When we say Minjingjian, which means a merciful person, Minjingjian. But then there are there are other cases. For example, if we say Jordan, Jor means wealth, Den means possessing. So Jordan means wealthy. So wealthy is an adjective. So therefore, you can see that possessing particular type of things, characteristic can make it into an adjective. Demdim, which means flexible, something that has an elastic property, which can be bent. Normally used in this word is normally used either in stories or in poems. We say "xing demdim," which means flexible. "Juanxing jiangxing demdim," which means trees which are green and meaning that they're still, which characterize to tell us that it's still a young tree. So demden means flexible, something that can be bent in any direction easily. Simsim, which is simsim is a word that can also be understood as sip sip. So let me write this here. So it is a word that can be also understood as sip sip. We say that chawa sip sip palkutu. But the difference between this and simsim is that simsim should be also understood as a soft falling of snow. So a drizzling of rain or soft and gentle snowfall. So the kind of snowfall that happens like normally, not those heavy snowfall, but like those snowfall which gently falls on the ground, usually in the winter nights when it's very quiet, usually, and very peaceful. So simsim can also be understood as soft drizzling or soft snowfall. Rubrib means shimmering. So this word, if some of you are doing the prayers, we pray like if some of you are doing prayers and then during the prayer of the seven limbs, Yela Dumba, in which we have this word, it says Kama Ravrib Marme Thang. So this line, Kama Ravrib Marme. So if you are reciting the Tibetan prayers, then you have encountered this Kama Ravrib Marme. So Ravrib Marme refers to the shimmering. In this particular case, it says Kama Ravrib Marme Thang, in which it is talking about the impermanent nature of things, just like the shimmering of the flames of the lamp. So Rabrib means to shimmer. Okay, so these are some examples of the adjective mingi kitsi. Adjective lasso. Now, dialogue one is an example. So the dialogues which are written here are to provide everyone with the familiarity of how I'm going to speak Tibetan using this particular type of words. How will these words come in my conversation while speaking to someone? And these dialogues are also written in a way that one can practice them. And like I said, the the very function of the conversation class is to provide everyone with the necessary tools to to manifest their own Tibetan conversation skills, meaning that it may not be like the conventional way of doing it, that is repeating one line few times. It is more like telling you this word will come in this type of situation. Now try to be creative with these, and then you start speaking using these words. It's more like giving you the map of how to create the conversation, and then with some of the more general lines which are used uh, quite oftenly. Then you can add a little of these things and that things, these concept and that concept and this, and then you can form that particular lines and dialogues that you're going to use. Yes, this approach takes more time to get familiar, but the fact is that when you start speaking, you know you have a certain type of command over each and every word that you're using, rather than memorizing a single line. You know that you are building the line rather than memorizing it. Yes, when it comes to grammar and all of those classical studies, memorization is one of the best techniques. But when it comes to speaking, it's important to know which word you're using there and why. Lasso. So, Kansa Tangbo, first person, Kamsang, which is a greeting. So we have been using Tashitele a lot. Though Tashitele, like I said, is my favorite greeting because it's a very wonderful greeting. It says, I wish upon you great health and prosperity. What better thing to but we're trying variation. And then we will bring different variation as we go with the lessons. I'll bring on new variation of greeting others. We have Kung Kamsang, we have Kamsang, we have Tashitele till now. So Kamsang, which means I wish good health upon you. Kangsan so second person, Kamsang. Kerang kusu debo impe. Or kerang kusu debo yinnam. Impe, if you're trying more towards the spoken language, if you're trying to speak in a more in a way that you want to make it more as a spoken language, then you can say impe. Otherwise, hinnam is the usage of the particle. So, kamsa, kerang kusu debo imnam. Kamsa, kerang kusu debo imnam. I too wish good health upon you. Are you doing well? So kusu is the honorific for the word suk, which means the body. La, which is a respectful way of acknowledging that I have heard what you have said. La. Nga debo yin. Kenang kungkam debo yinnam. La. Nga debo yin. Kenang kungkam debo yinnam. Yes, I'm doing well. Are you doing well? So you can either say kusu or you can say kukam. Kukam means the general constituent of your body. It comes from the word kam, which talks about the elements of your body. Because so saying that is everything that constitutes you fine, meaning that are you fine physically? Kerang kukam debo innam. Yes, I'm doing well. Are you doing well? Lahi. Kadinche. Lahi is respectfully saying yes. So the thing is that You can speak in this manner where we are using honorifics and we are using more a sort of conversation. We're being respectful. One reason why we are having these type of dialogues is because it is also a very integral part of my day-to-day called my daily conversation, where I use the words like la and honorifics, which I find is a better way to communicate. Because, like I said in previous classes, why not give respect to others? So, or you can also speak in a more casual way where you're not using honorifics, simply saying "he" uh, and "katinche," or you can either skip that part, "nga de bu yin," or you can use the form where you are using the honorifics and more respectful form of conversation. "La yin katinche," "la nga de bu yin," "kerang kukham de bu yin nam," or you can say "oh," or in a more casual setting, you can say "ho." "Ho" is saying yes. So, therefore, you will encounter both of these type of uh, manner of speaking when you listen to native speaker. Some will be using, most of them will be using the casual way of speaking. Some of them will be using the honorifics, especially those who come from the central part of Tibet will be using more honorifics. This you have to understand that this also has to do with the type of situation that was in Tibet. The central was actually the place where all the governments and all those big people were living, and the eastern parts were like more remote places. So there is a difference between how that influenced how the people spoke, how the regional dialect evolved, and how honorific became a very integral part of the central Tibet, especially in Lhasa, because that was the capital of Tibet. There was where all the great leaders, uh, the great scholars, and all those big people used to live, and people had to, on daily basis, visit them for reasons. So Haja Yaputu, which means very good. Haja Yaputu. Or sometimes you can say Shada Yaputu. Shada Yaput Re. Haja Yaputu or Haja Yaput Re. It is very good or very good. Simply saying very good. Kasanam shi changmo shida de masongam or masong we. Kasanam shi changmo shida de masong we. So you see here we have used an adjective here, changmo, which means cold. And shida is something that adds on exaggerating that particular adjective, making it very cold. So which means wasn't the weather very cold yesterday? So shida is used with adjective or adverb, which means very. La hajan changmo tuan song. Chaba sim sim yang pap song. La hajan changmo tuan song. Chaba sip sip yang pap song. So yes, it was very cold. There was even a soft drizzling. So there was even a soft drizzling. 하장 야구 뜬소. 하장 장무 뜬소. So la re la. So you may see that there are two la. Why? It's simply to be more respectful. It's a yes, just to say yes. So la re or la re la. Nye nangi totu chu mangbu sotu. La re la. Nye nangi totu chu mangbu sotu. Yes, there is a lot of water collected on my roof. Lasso. Chudi chuzu na to sane, dumre na to tong chokide. Lasso, chudi chuzu na to sone, dumre na to tong chokide. Yes, you can collect it in the water tank and send it in the garden. So dumra, which is garden here. Saba means to collect. Chuzu means water tank. So chuzu and chura. Chura means dam. And chuzu means water tank. So we have those water tanks on the top of our house. Chuzu. Lasso. Chuzu lasso. Chudi chuzu na to sone, sane, dumre na to tong chokide. So dialogue 2. So this is dialogue 2 because this is not related to the previous dialogues. So we are using the same greetings here. I wish good health upon you, Tashila. Kamsan, Tsirinla. Mambu gugu tu songam. So guk means to bait. Mambu means a lot. So it's an adjective. Here it talks about the duration of time. So guk gives us inferential understanding of wait. It tells us someone was waiting, and inferentially we understand that it was a duration of time. So though it's not written directly here, it should be understood that mangbo is used in order to describe the duration of time. Kamsan tsirinla. Mangbo gugu to songam. So I too wish good health upon you, tsiringla. You didn't have to wait for long, did you? La, mambu gugu to mason. La, mambu gugu to mason. Nga tadakamang nge ngun la jorsong. Nga tadakarma nge ngun la jorsong. No, I didn't have to wait for long. I just arrived 5 minutes ago. Lasso. Tering ngan tsu ilham shinyoru droguin. Lasso. Ngan tsu ilham shinyoru droguin. So if we revise a little bit of what we have learned in the previous classes, we see that since we have the companion word gyu, it should be understood that do is future tense. Because we see when we search for the spelling of do, when we search for the meaning of do, it is a verb of going from one place to another. And then you'll see that the present tense and the future tense have do as the same spelling. Now, in those cases that we have already revised, we look at the companion word, and since it is gyu, it is future tense, or it could be dozi. If you're planning for something, zi. If you're going to do something, gyu. Lasso, tering nganchu tamshin yoru dogyuin. Okay, today we're going to shop for a shoes. Lasso, ngaya detung nyogyu. Lasso, ngaya detung nyogyu. Lasso, ngaya detung nyogyu. Which means, okay, I too have to buy a shirt. Detung, which means shirt. Songkang dina, ham tön saba mangbudu. Songkang dina, ham tön saba mangbudu. Tön saba, which means latest. So it's a descriptive word. Sometimes descriptive word could come in a single word, or sometimes it could come in a phrase like tön saba, which is a combination of two words. So we have these type of phrase even in naming words, especially in the actual name based on logical reasoning. For example, Kangri. Kangri is a combination of two words, two naming words, Kang and Ri. And these are combined, and instead of being a single word, they are like a phrase which is used to represent a phenomena. So similarly, tön saba is not a single word here, but a phrase which has tön and saba. Tön means something that that is released. Sarpa means new, so newly released or latest, to understand. So this is the descriptive word. Here, tön saba mangbo, which means many latest. Sam tön saba mangbo, which means there are many latest shoes. So here, the many latest describes the shoes which are in the shop. So there are many latest shoes in this shop. Lasso, noun to chi tarutro. Lasso, noun to chi tarutro. Okay, let's go inside to have a look. La yin da yin, which means, of course, yin da, you can say yin da yin or you can say la yin da yin. One is more honorific, one more respectful way to saying it. The other is more casual way of saying. So if you're with your friend and then you're having a casual conversation, yin da yin, which means of course. So if you're with someone who is elder, then you can say la yin da yin. Tham di la tue tang. Tue here is more like asking someone to do. So it's the imperative form. Tham di la tue tang. Ka do ya hu min du kam. Tham di la tue tang. Ka do ya hu min du kam. Look at the shoes. Isn't the color good? Ladu, which is the way of saying yes, it is. Ladu. Or la redu. Or la resha. You can use any of these. Ladu. Thamti yua ringputu. Yua means the ankle. So the boots, we have boots which have ankle, which are high. So yua ringpu means high ankle. So here the word ringpu is the descriptive word which describes the ankle. Yes, it is. This shoes has a high ankle. Very sorry that in between I'm pointing out which is the adjective, and in some word this is disrupting the flow of the dialogue. Ladu, tiliang chapodu. Ladu, tiliang chapodu. Til, which means the soul. So it says, yes, it does. The soul is also hard, meaning that it will last for a longer time. Retu, juchaya ya putu, tiga rang yin. Yes, it is hard. The soul is hard. The material is also good. I will buy this exactly. Tiga rang, which is exactly here. This exactly, which is this exactly. Ti is this, and tiga rang is this exactly. So tiga rang yin. Lasso, tatu tung tarutro. Lasso, tatu tung tarutro. Okay, now let's go to buy the shirt. Lasso. Okay. Sometimes it's also pronounced as kandedu, which I think is a variation that came due to the spoken language. Kande. So normally we'll say kangda. So de kangda. How is this shirt? La yahudu. Kadoyan yahudu. Or sometimes we can say kadoyan rembodu. Rembo means very suitable, very harmonious. Or you can say yaputu, which is very good, or yaputu, or is good. So you can either say la yaputu, kadoyan yaputu, or kadoyan rembodu. Kadoyan rembodu means that it's very suitable with yourself. It suits very well to you. This color suits well on you, because we know that different people are able to wear different type of colors which looks good on them. Sometimes if someone looks good in black, doesn't mean that they will look good in other colors when they wear it. So therefore we have this word rembo in Tibetan for those. So we can say kadoyan rembodu or kadoyan yapudu. It is also good. The color is also good. La redu, which is yes, it is. La redu. Yes, it is. The shirt is black in color. So here you see that I have used the more casual way of speaking, the more spoken language. So I'm bringing it. I'm integrating both the written and the spoken language. Spoken language little less, but still it will be there so that you can have an idea that this is also a variation that has been spoken. Though we're strictly sticking to the written language form, which is both true to our objective. So which is true to our objective, which is trying to conserve the written language. Uh, so, do you not like black color? So some people they don't like black color clothes. La I like black color. I will buy this. Okay, so here we see that here the color black, though it's a color, and normally it would be something of a naming word, but here it is used as a descriptive word to describe the shirt, the color of the shirt. Lasso. So some verb. So since we always introduce some verb, so which is cure, se which is to have cured someone, so will cure, se means commanding someone to cure someone. Se kill, se killed, se will kill, se commanding someone to kill. Nyong, either to experience or to suffer. Nyang, to have experienced or to have suffered. Nyang, will experience or will suffer. Nyong, to experience, to command someone to experience or to command someone to suffer. Zek, climb. Zek, climbed. Zek, will climb. Zek, commanding someone to climb. And you see that when we talk, most of all of these have similar pronunciation, similar sound. And the thing that will distinguish them while speaking will be the companion word or the time of action. We have discussed this in the previous class. Dun, make or produced or manifest. Dun, to have made or to have produced. Made or produced. Dun, will make or will produce. Dunt, commanding someone to make or commanding someone to produce. Tungentun, which means to produce or to make, to produce or to provide facility. So these are the verb. Now, when we have the adjective, also in Tibetan we have the positive, the comparative, and the superlative. So, ringpo, which is tall. Ringwa, which is taller. Ringshu, which is tallest. Tung tung, short. Tungwa, shorter. Tungshu, shortest. Qianpo, big. Qiewa, bigger. Qieshu, biggest. Chung chung, small. Chungwa, smaller. Chungshu, smallest. Garpo, white. Garwa, whiter. Karshu, whitest. Silpo, bright. Silwa, brighter. Silshu, brightest. Sangpo, kind. Sangwa, kinder. Sangshu, kindest. Gibo, happy. Giwa, happier. Gishu, happiest. So you see that this is the positive, comparative, and the superlative of these different adjectives. So example one. So we're using these. So in this, you'll see that I have only used I've only used the superlative, but we can also use the comparative. So sitting. 这些啦，怎不领电度如脱血的抗热汤。这些啦，怎不领电度如脱血的抗热汤。这些啦 which is the highest mountain on the earth? So highest mountain peak, when we say mountain, so it means highest mountain peak on the earth. 这里啦，怎不领电度如脱血的如 So this is Rao, so not Rao, because, I mean, why should it be Rao? We're talking about mountain peak. So, 这啦，怎不领电度如脱血的如什么浪嘛的？这啦，怎不领电度如脱血的如什么浪嘛的？ So, 这啦 Mount Everest is the highest mountain on the earth. So understand that these sentences, these example sentences, are not related to each other. They are individual sentences, just used in order to show the usage of the superlative. So, sitting. 가상이 계란기 챔페바 퇴송 강체브레탐. 가상이 계란기 챔페바 퇴송 강체브레탐. 가상이 계란기 챔페바 퇴송 강체브레탐. Yesterday I heard your name being called. What happened? 这是 Lade. 卡上你冲错了，加了猛血冲我赢。Lade. 卡上你冲错了，加了猛血冲我赢。Yes, I sold at the market yesterday. So we don't have the yesterday here. So let me add this. So yes, yesterday I sold the most items at the market. So 猛血, here we have 脱血, which is the superlative of 脱. 猛血, which is the superlative of the word 忙我. Example 2. So this is not related to the earlier examples. 다월 개 튼주 개율 공부 수송. 다월 개 튼주 개율 공부 수송. 개율, which means retirement. 공부, which means to apply or to request, to send an application. 공수 means application. 공부 means to request or to take permission for retirement. Earlier on Monday, teacher Tundrup requested retirement. Earlier on Monday, teacher Tundrup requested a retirement. Lasso. Kong lobtadir gege ningshe maretam. Or if you're going to talk in a more casual way, you can say mareve. But you can say maretam. Lasso. Kong lobtadir gege ningshe maretam. Mareve. Lere. Tadung hasam cheshe kyan kongre. Longo sumchu shevchi shuare. Lere. Tadung hasam cheshe kyan kongre. Longo sumchu shevchi shuare. Yes, the most dedicated teacher is also him. He served as a teacher for 30 years. Lasso. So, in a way, saying yes, and also in a way that one is realizing, oh, like saying, oh, now I understand. Lasso, lasso. Hajang lo mangpurreto. Lasso, lasso. Hajang lo mangpurreto. Oh, okay. That is a lot of years. Okay, so these are the new words. First one, kesi, which means descriptive word. Namshi, weather. Tumra, garden. Kangto, roof. Tutung, shirt. Ham yuring, boot. So you see that this is also a part of Tibetan culture where you see that the young, usually the young ones, the younger people, the youth, when they dress, they wear chupa, and with that they have this hamyuring, which is the shoes, like a boot which has a long ankle, and then you see that it has like a curved tip, so it's called hamyuring. But these days you can see it while, especially uh, if you get to shows where there are Tibetan dances, like traditional dances, and normally done by the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, where you see that they do these particular traditional dances where they have this attire, and you can see that shoes, which has long ankle like a boot and a curved tip. So tham yuring. Tham til, sole of the shoes. Tham til, geyul, retirement. Geyul means retirement. Gongshu. Gongshu means application. Application, gongshu. Shabchi, which means service. Shabchi means service. Okay, so now we're at the two idioms of the first one is nang la da tang chi la ki. Nang la da tang chi la ki, which means tiger in one's home and dog outside. This idiom refers to those people who like to act tough and fearless at their home or in their area, but are very cautious when they go outside their area or away from a favorable situation. When someone is either in a favorable situation or when someone is in the area or place where they have the upper hand, those people tend to act like a tiger, fearless. But when they exit that area, when they are no longer in the favorable situation or outside their favorable area, then they become very cautious of everyone. So these type of people are called na la da dang chi la ki. Okay, so we can use them in examples in conversation by using them in statements like na la da dang chi la ki tar che gen ki mi the yo gyu thamba le dembe lam la dro ni mi si tho. Na la da dang chi la ki tar che gen ki mi the yo gyu thamba le dembe lam la dro ni mi si tho. So it means the person that acts like a tiger in one's home and dog outside, this person will always be deceitful and cunning, and it's impossible for such person to walk on the path of truth. So this is one example of using this, and then you can also use this for scenario. For example, you can say, "Oh, this and this just acts like a tiger in their home, and then like a dog and outside." So you can use them in this type of scenario. Okay, the second idiom, 交叉透动. 交叉透动 means hit the metal when it's hot. So we know that metal, especially metal, they have the characteristic of being shaped into different. They're both malleable and ductile, meaning that they can be shaped in various shapes, especially when they are hot. So they can be made into different type of shapes. So it's better when you hit them when it's hot to shape them, because once they're cooled down, they retain their hardness. Just like the iron is crafted in any desired shape by beating on it when it's hot, the idiom tells us that one should grab the opportunity when it presents itself to us, and that by delaying it only results in undesirable scenario. An undesirable scenario would be that you waited for something. You said that, oh, I will wait a little bit and I'll pursue this. And then at the end, you see that it is something that you cannot pursue at that particular moment, or that this opportunity to pursue that is now already gone, that the situation has now become unfavorable to pursue such and such. So this is the meaning of this idiom. So example of using this. 랑니러 고급 중체 짜라 토동달 송월에 치슈 재미로 랑니러 고급 중체 짜 짜차 토동달 송월에 치슈 재미니 or 재미로. When opportunity arises to oneself, so it's double R, sorry. When opportunity arises to oneself, one should grab it just as to hit the metal when it's hot, and one should not procrastinate it. So it is not proper for one to procrastinate. So this is an example. This is an example for particular usage of this idiom in a conversation, because both idiom and proverbs are used to give an example. So normally they are used either to, like the first one, the idiom we had today. Let me go to the idiom that we had today. The first, this is a general advice. It's like a general, it's a general advice to people, or a form of speech that motivates or advises people that they should work hard, they should face difficulty, they should face hardship in order to reach the plains of happiness. Otherwise, it's not possible. It's like an advice. So normally when we use these aphorism, proverbs, or these idioms, either to provide as an example or to give advice. So therefore, most of the usage of these can be, it can be either in an article. You can use it to, because in Tibetan, when we write articles or essays, one type of introduction of essays starts with aphorism or idioms, and then you start writing about it. So in similar way, you can use it, or you can use it in your day-to-day life to provide examples. Okay, so today we discussed about the descriptive word ketsi, and in which we discussed the mingi ketsi, which is descriptive word of name or adjective. So before we end this, I think I have time for questions. So if anyone have questions, please ask away. I think I have time for 2 questions. Okay. So the question geyul. So the word geyul. Okay, let us go to this word. So yulpa means which means that we have already passed this time. So ge means the time of old age, the time of being old, meaning, so we have different stages of life. We have the infancy, we have the childhood, we have the teenage, we have the adult, we have the more adult, and then we have the old age. So geyul means passing the time of being adult, meaning that someone who has already reached that point when one can be known as an old person, that one is now able to retire. One is able to retire because they have reached the old age. So therefore, geyul, the word geyul, yul means to have passed, and ge, which means old age, or a time when one can be considered as an old person. So passing the limit of being old age, so crossing that line where one can be known as an old person. So geyul is used for the word retirement here. Lasso. So do we have another question? Do we have any other questions? Lasso, tashitele.
Could you please turn the slide 14?
Slide 14?
14, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry again, I don't know. I don't understand the sentence. The first sentence, the soul is also hard. What is meaning?
This one?
The soul is also hard. What is the meaning? Can you explain more for me?
So you mean the first word, su, right? Or so?
Yeah, ladu. Thi young trackball. Yes, it does. The soul is also hard. I don't understand what's the meaning.
Lasso. So this one. Okay. So latu, tiliang, traputu, right? So
Yes.
so till refers to the sole of the shoes, the bottom part of the shoes, as you see, which is used for grabbing the ground, right?
Yeah.
So it says that tilian chakputu means that even the sole is very hard, because normally what we in Tibetan tradition or Tibetan people, normally we what we do is that we equate hard as durable and soft as something that just wears out easily, you know. So if we say the soul is hard, it means that it will last for a longer time.
Thank you, Yala.
Now,
I understood. Thank you, Yala.
that's so.
And
That's
more
so.
question. And more question.
Yes.
Is there any difference between Katrin Che and Tuk Che Che?
No, it is very so. Katin che means katin che is a word that is saying thank you. By katin means someone doing good things for us. So katin che means you have done great benefit to me. So thanking someone by saying you have done great benefit to me. Tukje che means that tukje che means like my heart or my mind or my gratitude is with you. So it's like my gratitude is with you when we say tukjeche. Whereas when we say katinche, it means that you have done great benefit to me. So very similar.
And how about Tuchinang?
Which tukjenang is also saying you have my gratitude.
Yeah. Thank you, Gala.
Lasso. On base to phrase or group syllable. Okay, so you mean while reading, or do you particularly mean like to provide examples on another phrase verb or phrase name? So do you especially mean just for reading or lasso?
Lasso, again, what I mean is when I listen to the way that you are phrasing the sentences when you're speaking, there is a certain way that you put either 3 or 4 syllables, and so when I'm trying to speak, I'm trying to figure out where to, is it 4 syllables and then 3 syllables and then 2 syllables, because it has a musical sort of way of sounding, and it seems that when you speak that way, it's actually easier to pronounce. Maybe it's because I'm a musician, and so I'm listening for the just the way that it sounds, and then it's easier to roll off the mouth. Yeah.
Yes, and this is very relevant because of this, the way you have the syllable together, some of the words actually become more easier to pronounce. Like the one which I said about yore. When you are able to put them in a particular way, what happens is that the yore becomes easier to pronounce as yore. And so when you talk about this, there are 2 ways to develop this. First is, and I'm very sorry if this is repetition of many of the things that has been said again and again. The first one is to do a lot of reading. So the more reading you do, and when you do the reading, especially focus on the syllable reading instead of the line reading and the character reading. So like we already, so if those who have joined me for the reading classes, I have already said that we have different levels of reading. The first one is known as the character reading. Then we have the joint character reading. Then we have the syllable reading. And then we have the word reading. And then finally, we have the line reading. So if we follow this particular pattern, where we start with the syllable reading, so the more syllable reading you do, the more you have the idea of which syllable. And then the other thing that determines which syllable you read together is also dependent on the meaning. If the word meaning doesn't make sense to be joined with other syllable, then it is there where you draw a pause and you say that this will start after the pause. But if you feel that, oh, when I use this particular word with this particular syllable, both of these seem to go together, and then you join this into a single syllable, and then you're able to join the syllable. But yes, like I said, this type of practice will only come with repeated reading. So very, very, very much determined. This is very, very, very much dependent on how much one is reading and speaking. So, and also, it also depends on hearing. So when it's speaking, you also depends on hearing, because if you hear someone using the same, reading the same line, speaking the same line, but with a different regional dialect. So right now, I'm sticking very, very strict to the written language, to the structure of the written language. So that is why I'm pronouncing it this way. But if you hear someone who is very much inclined to the colloquial speaking, or the spoken language, as well as they are from the central Tibet, and if they are from Hassa, you'll see that there will be more exaggeration on these syllables. You'll see that some of the syllable will be stretched unnecessarily longer. Some syllable will be made even more softer and gentler. And this is because of the inclination towards the spoken language. But since we're sticking to the written language, reading will definitely help you a lot, because we're sticking to the very core structure of the language rather than being biased or inclined towards a particular regional dialect. We're sticking true to each of the sound of the word. We're not making any variation. We're reading exactly the way it should be read. We're not exaggerating any sound, neither we're cutting any sound shorter to make it sound more to make it sound more bold, like it's done in the Eastern dialect. Or we're not stretching it unnecessarily like the Central Tibetan. We're just sticking to the very natural sound of the words. So therefore, for that, I recommend you to study the syllable reading. I think most of you have already been under the discipline of doing the character reading. All of you have been reading for hours. Ka, ka, kigu, shakyu, ki, ki. So now try doing the syllable reading. Like you can say la, tuk, still, yang, tek, po, tuk. And then you start joining the syllable, and you'll see which syllable comes together. Like you say ladu, tilyang, chepotu. So then you start making the combination of syllables longer, the ones which are related. And then at certain time, when you read more, when you speak more, it will come automatically. It will be something which will come naturally. But it will take some work. Definitely it will take some work. But the thing is that as you do it more, it will come out more clearly. But remember to stick to the rules. Rule of what? Rule of the written language. Because we're here, whatever I'm pronouncing, I'm doing it in accordance to the written language. I'm trying to restrict as much as possible the influence of my original dialect. So therefore, you don't hear the Eastern Tibetan dialect here, because I'm restricting it to the written language. So this is what I also advise: stick to the written dialect. that by that you're already on the line of already on the progress, because you already have studied the character reading, so it is true to the written language. So you don't exaggerate any sound, you don't make it shorter, you just stick to whatever has been learned, and then it will come naturally as you read more, as you speak more. So this is something that I can say about the natural flow of the syllable. So I hope that this clarifies it a little bit.
Kadrin Che.
So,
I've asked Svetlana to send the Legshe course.
The grammar course.
Yes, or she had suggested that there's a Sakya Legshe course.
Yes, the reading class. Yes, this intermediate reading class. Lasso. Lasso yin. Okay, so do we have any more questions? Also, an idiom about being tiger at home and dog, does it have a negative meaning? Can a person get very offended if so? I mean, definitely. I've already written that normally these are used for those, especially those cunning people who are very calculative, not calculative in a good way, calculative in a bad way, where they want to be, where they want to take advantage of situations and things like this. So this is very negative. But then if to those who it actually sticks, then I think it's okay to say it. I mean, it is offending, but it is the truth. So what can one do? I mean, it is the truth. So if one is acting in a certain way, then one is deserving of certain comment. So therefore, I think that it is offending, but if it's true, then it's true. If it's not true, saying it probably becomes the prime example of particular statement. So therefore, yes, it's offending. Just like porokarpo, it is offending. But if it's what it is, then it is what it is. What can one say? So it's the truth, and then there is nothing greater than the truth. So even if it's offending because of the reasoning that one might have created in their head to make it offending, but yes, it is truth, and if it's offending, it is offending. So what can I say? So it is offending to say it to someone. And if you really have to say it, then I mean, it is the truth. And I'm neither encouraging, nor I'm saying that you shouldn't use it. It's just simply as a part of a language. So Lasso, I hope that this clarifies it. Okay, so this is it for today. This is all the time that we have for today. And thank you very much for joining in. And I hope that this course, this particular lesson was beneficial to everyone. And if you have questions, send it directly to me, or you can send it send it in the group, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Sometimes it will take time. So I apologize, but it will take time because of certain things that may come here at the monastery. So it will take time. But when I'm able to answer, when there's nothing else that I have to do, meaning that when there is nothing that I have to do here, and I have time after giving the course, the lesson, then I will provide with all the answers. So if it's taking time, I apologize. Please be understanding and please have patience with me, which I always am thankful to every one of you for having patience with my delayed reply. Sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes it may take a month. And sometimes it may take 5 minutes. I might just reply after the lesson. Depends on the circumstance. But in any case, thank you very much for joining in and your immense interest and enthusiasm towards this language that I'm working to conserve, so that people, as every people, and also the next generation of Tibetan who are going to come, can learn. Especially, I mean, if they can learn from you, that would be also wonderful. I mean, so therefore, thank you for helping me preserve this language for a longer time. And thank you for your enthusiasm. I will see every one of you on Saturday Now one might say, why Saturday? Because we have missed one class on previous Sunday, and we are planning to finish this course in the duration that we have set, because I had to take that 10 or 11 days of break because of certain workshop that I was attending. So therefore we will continue this course, and then we'll add some few of the classes in between the weeks, so that we can reach we can finish this in the time that we have already decided. So therefore, I will see you on Saturday, and I'll also see you on Sunday. It doesn't mean that we are postponing Sunday. We'll have 3 classes this week. So today we had one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So I'll see every one of you on Saturday, and assignments will be sent. So please read these dialogues, practice these dialogues. If you want someone to practice, just send it to me. Just read it and send it to me, and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. So thank you very much, and tashitele, and I'll see you on Saturday. Lasso, and tuje chenna to everyone. Lasso.